mostly everyone I know is either sick or away, so I'm very glad to see you here. Dave Goggins, the Vice President, Ben Sampson, Secretary, Cheryl Greco, our Sergeant at Arms. You've been checked in by Sue Benveniste, our Treasurer, along with the Assistant Superintendent meeting. We're very glad to have her back and on that job. And we have Robin Reed, who is our Parks Chairperson, and Victor Bronya, who's our ZLC Chairperson. And did I leave anyone else? Okay. Thank you again for being here. I just have a couple of announcements to make as part of the President's report. And well, actually, one of them I just let somebody else make. So just reminding everyone, if you haven't renewed, please do so. I see that it looks like a lot of people did renew tonight. That's great. And we're always interested in new members. So we've got a lot of issues going on in the neighborhood between the waterfront flooding issues and the Airbnb issues. All of these are things that are being addressed by the city right now. It's a great time for us to be kind of joined together so we can present united against some of these issues. So that being said, I am going to pass the meeting over to our Parks Chair, Robin Reed.
Thank you. I have 4 items tonight. One is that there was a Parks and Recreation meeting to discuss the Tupelo and Randolph Parks back in January. It was the second of 3 meetings to discuss the improvements to that area. The city presented 3 designs, all of which featured a Little League field, a bocce court, a playground, and improved lighting and storage. And then the public had some additional suggestions that they are taking into consideration. And we will hear about how much of that can be incorporated at the next meeting in April. They don't have a date yet, so keep your eyes peeled for the date in April. When this goes through, construction will start in spring of 2019 and end in fall of 2019, and they're budgeting $4.5 million for that, so it's going to be a great addition to the city and our neighborhood. Second item is trees. We're noticing that trees, especially on Hanover Street, are getting cut down. I'm assuming by the city, but I'm very concerned about that. We have very few trees to begin with, and we're losing some what look to me to be like healthy trees. So I'm going to research that with the city. If anybody else sees trees being cut down, please feel free to let me know. I'm very concerned about that. So, and we did a tree inventory 2 years ago now, and so we keep updating that, but we really want more trees in the city, not fewer. The third item is on Saturday, this coming Saturday, February 10th, from 4 to 9 p.m. in Christopher Columbus Park. There's the Tunnel of Love Valentine's Day celebration. Hope everybody can come. We'll have music and activities and decorations to celebrate Valentine's Day and the park. And the fourth item is actually a request from Jesse Brackenberry at the Greenway. You may know I am the Greenway representative for NEWRA. So I am on the board of the Greenway because of that title. And the Greenway is going through a process right now of establishing a business improvement district, which would require through voluntary participation in this agreement that abutters to the Greenway property would pay additional taxes that would go directly to the Greenway for basic maintenance, horticulture, and operations. It would only apply to properties with a current assessed value of greater than $10 million. So it's not individual condo owners, it's not small businesses, it's not a locally owned retail shop. These are large organizations and buildings that have agreed to participate in this business investment district. And what Jesse is asking is, would we as NEWRA be willing to sign a letter supporting the business improvement district? Because they are going to the Boston City Council to present this. I have examples of the letter that I don't have a ton for everybody, but I have a few. And I will read it out loud so they can hear it. And we, I think, are going to have a show of hands about whether we want to support this or not. I know Mr. Kubiak has some questions. So I'm going to read the letter out loud, and then I will. So the letter is to the Boston City Council from NEWRA, and it says, "Dear Boston City Council, I am writing on behalf of NEWRA in support of private property owners' willingness to form a business improvement district to contribute funding to sustain the Rose Kennedy Greenway. Everyone in Boston benefits from the beauty, vibrancy, and maintenance of the Greenway. We have an excellent partnership with the Greenway Conservancy and appreciate their strong stewardship of the public park. There is an important opportunity now to resolve the funding uncertainty that has plagued the public park. With the Greenway Business Improvement District, property owners around the Greenway have agreed to pay additional funds through their property taxes to ensure that adequate baseline funding for the public park will continue. The property owner's contribution, combined with the government funding commitments, plus fundraising by the Greenway Conservancy, will assure stability and long-term success for the operation and improvement of the Greenway. NEWRA hopes you will support the creation of the Greenway Business Improvement District." That's what the letter says, and that's what the ask is from Jesse for us to sign.
Yeah, Dave Kubiak. At a minimum, I hope we can put off this vote until we get more information about this proposal. A question, is the boundary of the bid the same boundary as the Greenway currently has, or does it go beyond the bounds of the Greenway?
The boundaries were established by one of the partners of this bid, which is A Better City. It's an organization, and they are determining the boundary lines and fee structure. I do not know what the boundary.
Okay, because the trouble with bids is that the flip side, there are the benefits, but the other side is that I believe it involves some transfer of authority over public property to the business district, the BID. So for instance, if we were going to have a BID on Hanover Street, the businesses along Hanover Street that are part of that BID would have more control over that street. Some of that control would be shifted from the city to the BID, as it has done, as it has happened in the downtown crossing area.
Which is the only other bid.
So I'm really concerned about giving more authority to the Greenway Conservancy. Second, I don't think this organization should be involved in funding the Greenway or getting involved in any way with how the Greenway gets its funds. It's defined by state legislation, and I just don't like the idea of us saying that certain people should be paying to support the Greenway. And the last thing is, I would like to see, if you've got, if the Greenway Conservancy has budget problems or projected budget problems, they should start cutting some of their costs, including salaries.
Yes. Is this mandatory? Does it go on the property tax?
It's an additional tax.
How much it is?
I think it's a pro rata. And it's assessed to be on their assessments.
Whose properties fall within the DID?
Who's over $10 million?
I don't know.
Hi, Robert. I'm Mary Collin. I have a couple of questions. I I think you make a lot of sense of what you said, Dave, but one of the things I'm concerned about, does a BID, can that affect what sort of zoning and, you know, how the present codes affect that? And the other question I have is when they say $10 million, does that mean, for instance, Harbor Towers or International Place or the Greenway condos, is that total? Like if you put together all the condos in those units, you're gonna hit 10 million. So does that mean those residents get, or the homeowners association, would they have an increase in taxes?
I don't know if I can answer that question. That's a detail I don't know. But I have some information about that. It says residents and condominiums are exempt from these BID. Small businesses, nonprofits, and City of Boston residents and condominiums are exempt from these.
Would that be included in another letter, or are we just, you know, how are we supposed to know if that's so? Or if that won't change?
Well, we can make adjustments to this letter. This is what was provided as a basic draft. Thank you. So if we wanted to collectively add some text to that, I think we could do that.
And I have one more question. I'm sorry to take so many, but it sounds from the letter that we are making statements for many, many people. Doesn't it say that we are supporting, or, I'm sorry, may I see that? Is there, everyone in Boston benefits? It sounds to me like we are representing a larger amount, a bigger population than we have represented here on that. Can you talk about that? And I don't know if we should be doing that.
I believe the intention is just to come from NEWRA and the members, not to encompass all of the North End neighborhood.
So it may say, it would say NEWRA members? Because that might be a little more accurate. Thank you.
Victor, you had some comments, do you have any comments? Because you had some comments.
I think my comments have been covered.
Okay.
Victor, do you have any insights as to what exactly a BID encompasses in terms of, Mr. Kubiak implied that there might be some sort of adverse impact by authorizing a BID with respect to control or...
I haven't focused in on this issue. If and when I focus, have information, but today I don't.
What about the businesses that would be paying into this? Have they taken a stand? Are they in support of it?
As much as I understand it, they have voluntarily entered into this agreement. So this has been in the works for a while. So I think the organizations and the companies that are paying into this are doing that.
It'd be great if they could just pay into it and make the donation as opposed to a tax on their tax bill. I guess that's where I get lost.
Yeah.
And that's a technical question.
Yeah.
Robert, would Jesse be willing to come to a meeting and explain?
Absolutely. I believe the vote at the city council came up, and he has asked for this letter by the 12th. He just asked for it the other day, so there wasn't really a lot of time to get him here. But I know he'd be more than happy. Jesse's always offering to come and speak to this group, and has been very forthcoming with any information about it, about questions about the Greenway. I believe there was some urgency to get this to the city council to vote. I don't know when that vote is, but I don't know if we can wait another month.
Hi, Tom Brazier from Fulton Street. Is there a place where you can actually go and find it? Is there actually a write-up of the specific plan? I mean, like actually what's entailed? What would we be recommending in its full?
That's really a great question. I have not seen the text of the bid, but there is a ton of information online about this, with the news articles and on the Greenway's website. So there is a lot of detail about the plan and why it's in place, why, in my opinion, this long-term structure for funding can really help the Greenway, rather than being on the DOT's lease. That was always kind of difficult to know how long that was going to be. So I don't have the answer to that question. I have not seen the bid, and I don't know if that's available right now. I can ask.
But I mean, it wouldn't seem it's a little silly to recommend something basically where we don't even know what it is.
It was my understanding that when the Greenway Conservancy was set up, that the state was giving them money to get everything organized, and they were paying them for a finite amount of time. And then at some point, that their goal was to get patrons to help finance the Greenway. And they're getting paid a fair amount of money to do all the administrative costs. Am I correct?
But
now
now
they're
they're saying
saying
there was they wanted to kind of wean the Greenway off of
the state
funds,
money.
right. And this is kind of the replacement for those funds.
But the replacement is in kind taxing other people instead of getting patrons, which is what I believe they were.
The Greenway's also doing that as well, so it's not a complete replacement for that funds, but will still continue, and feels that this structure will actually help them get more funding from private donors, because there is more stability. So you can go to a patron and say, we have this structure in place and this much money is guaranteed to come in. Can you also assist?
And for sure, those buildings along there are benefiting, just like, the people along the harbor, developers are benefiting from the harbor now that it's cleaned up. But does that preclude what the residents have to say about what goes on in the Greenway if you have these people getting taxed, essentially? Do they have a greater say in what?
They will have representation on the Greenway board, but it's my understanding that it's not greater than the other numbers of people on the board that represent the neighborhoods.
Right.
So there's still the different neighborhood, abutting neighborhood representatives on the board. So they would not number those neighborhood representatives.
As Robin has correctly pointed out, this was a very last-minute addition to the agenda, and I think that at this point, it's really become clear that there are many unanswered questions, and I don't really, unless the group feels very differently, I don't really I feel comfortable putting it out for a vote, because I don't think we have the information to adequately vote on that. And what I would like to do is send a message to Jesse that it's not that we do not wish to support his efforts, but I think that before this organization commits itself to supporting something like this, that we really need a little bit more information to go on. And that if he does, certainly, I know he has offered to come, and we should probably have him come and speak to us. And we can be supportive if we get more information. But I think right now, we better just not move forward.
I'm happy to
further.
discuss that and explain
Is
that.
it, is the sense of the group that
Absolutely.
Okay, so, reminded me before the meeting started that Matt Conti is taping us tonight, so you are on tape. And I think we have some representatives of governmental offices. I know Kathy Carangelo is here from Councilor Lydia Edwards' office, and I saw Luigi Natali from Senator Boncore's office, but I'm not sure if he's still here. And very welcome. Any other governmental representatives or any other representatives of the press? Okay, so I guess we are ready to go on with our next agenda item, which is the Golden Goose Cafe. Oh, Victor. Well, Victor, I thought you were speaking.
How about CLC report?
Well, if we want to keep with our agenda, why?
30 seconds?
Okay, 30
Okay.
seconds.
We had a CLC meeting on January 23rd. The only item on the agenda was the Golden Goose Cafe, which is on this agenda for a vote. The only other item, well, first I should say that the next CLC meeting, if it were to take place, would be February 27th, but there isn't anything to discuss, so I think as of today, there won't be a February 27th meeting unless something comes up, in which case Matt will have it posted. Finally, I have been contacted by an attorney representing the Going Bananas Market. They want to add a retail package store license. I think it's only wine and beer, but they have to have zoning relief first, so they haven't filed an application for the license yet. So that will be coming up at some point, but not on February 27th. That
Thank you,
concludes
Victor.
the CLC.
Yes.